In this video, I'm going to show you how to bypass YouTube's default HDR to SDR conversion and create your own instead. With the release of the new Mac Pro and the Apple Pro Display XDR, high dynamic range video is about to flood YouTube like a storm. But along with HDR video comes loads of frustration as content creators view their work on SDR screens and it just looks awful. Why is that? Let me explain. So when you upload an HDR video to YouTube, YouTube notices that it's HDR. And to ensure the video is available to watch on a wide variety of non-HDR screens, YouTube automatically applies a lookup table, or LUT, to down-convert all uploaded high dynamic range content to standard dynamic range. This one-size-fits-all approach may work well with some HDR content, but it unfortunately doesn't allow for the level of nuance that creators really need to ensure their content always looks amazing. Fortunately, we can bypass YouTube's default LUT and apply our own. Here's how. Just a quick disclaimer, from here on out, this video assumes you're on a Mac. But if you're a Windows user, no stress. The steps are pretty much the same, just check out YouTube's guide in the description below to learn the subtle differences. Okay, so before uploading your video to YouTube, you first need YouTube's official Metadata Tool, which you can download from their support page, link in description. The link takes you to a GitHub page, and I know what you're thinking, but don't worry. Even though this isn't a very elegant or user-friendly solution, it works super well. So just pay attention and you'll do fine. On the GitHub page, click the clone or download button and download the metadata tool as a zip file. Extract it and place the extracted folder loose inside your Mac's user folder. In my case, it's the Aaron folder. Now, there are a couple of additional files you'll need as well, which you can get from my Google Drive link down in the description. Here, I've included 2 of my own HDR to SDR conversion LUTs for free. So if you don't want to make your own, you're welcome to try one of those and see if it works for you. Or if you do want to create your own, I'll show you how in just a bit. The other file you'll need is the RTF text document. Okay, grab one of the LUTs and place it loose inside your Mac user folder, as well as the RTF text document. Now, copy your exported HDR video to that same user folder and rename it to HDR_TO_SDR_LUT, keeping the file extension as is, either MOV or MP4. Don't worry, you can rename it back to its real name once we're done. Now, open Terminal. I know, but don't worry, it's not too complicated. Now, navigate to the HDR metadata master folder that we just placed inside your user folder. Then go to macOS, then right-click on mkvmerge.app, and click Show Package Contents. Then open Contents, and then macOS. Finally, drag that MKV merge file onto your terminal window. This initiates YouTube's HDR metadata tool. Now just open the RTF file and copy and paste the text into terminal. Just a quick note, this terminal code assumes that your original HDR video is an MP4 file. But in my case, I used ProRes, so I'm just going to change it to MOV before pasting the code into terminal. Okay, so once you've pasted it into terminal, just hit return on your keyboard and let it do its thing. Once it's completed, you'll see a brand new MKV file inside your user folder. This is just a duplicate of your original HDR video, but has been rewrapped inside of an MKV container, and it now has our custom LUT embedded into the file. So now when you upload that MKV file, YouTube will understand that it should use our LUT instead of its default one. And that's it. Once the upload is done processing, you'll see that the SDR version of the video has our LUT applied, while the HDR version remains the same just as it was intended. Hopefully in the future, YouTube will create a much more user-friendly way of doing this same thing with an option on the upload page to add your own LUT. But for now, this is a great way to have full control over how the SDR versions of your HDR videos look on YouTube. Okay, now for those who want to learn how to make their own color space conversion LUT. First, open DaVinci Resolve and create a new project. Leave all color management settings at the default settings. In other words, DaVinci YRGB with your timeline color space set to Rec 709. Now, import your final exported HDR video that you want to upload to YouTube. Bring it into the timeline and then navigate to the color page. Create 2 serial nodes, and on the second node, apply the Color Space Transform OpenEffects plugin by dragging it onto the node. Set your input color space to Rec 2020 and your input gamma to SMPTE 2084 1000 nit. There are some other great input gamma settings here, including various options for videos mastered at different nit levels, so you may want to apply a different setting according to your needs. But for me, I'm just going to select this one because I mastered my video at 1000 nits. Next, change your output color space to Rec 709 and your output gamma to gamma 2.4. Then in Node 1, you can adjust the curve to your liking. You may use the YRGB curves or the lift gamma gain color wheels. Both are LUT compliant. In fact, most primary, non-secondary controls in Resolve are LUT compliant. So you can dial in the highlights or shadows with the log wheels, modifying the custom tone mapping by dialing in a custom low and high range setting, or you can adjust the saturation of specific hues with your versus curves, or even use your temperature and tint sliders. In one of my LUTs, I found I needed to tweak the saturated HDR blues independently from the rest of the colors, so I used a hue versus sat curve for that. Just don't use any secondary controls such as qualifiers, power windows, or sharpening. Those are not LUT compliant, and the adjustments we're making need to apply globally to the entire video. Oh, and don't use the shadow and highlight sliders either. For some reason, those won't transfer over to a LUT even though they're global controls. Anyway, just dial in the settings to your liking until you've found what looks great for your style of video. Once you've dialed those settings in, right-click the thumbnail and select Generate 3D LUT 33-point cube. It's important that you select 33-point cube and not 65-point cube. Export the LUT to your user folder and just make sure it's named HDR_2_SDR_LUT exactly, so that the terminal code in that RTF document will link right up to it. And that's it for creating your own conversion LUT. If that's too complex, just use one of mine, and hopefully one of those works for you. I hope this video was helpful to you. I can't wait to see a new wave of high-quality HDR content here on YouTube. Thanks to YouTube's support for their documentation on the HDR Metadata Tool, and a huge thanks to Mystery Box as well for their wonderful write-up on the HDR Metadata Tool. The folks at Mystery Box make some really great HDR content, so go check them out. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like. If not, smash that dislike button. It's a free country.